Well, Greg on the go again with another episode of our Greg on the Go videos. Today we've got BS, beer school. Alright, now when I was a younger guy in college, I was a tour guide at the FX Map Brewery, and we actually did go to beer school. We learned how to tap kegs, how to clean glasses, how to pour beer. And that's what we're going to do today, learn how to pour beer. Now, here's the misconception. Let me open a can of beer. Most people feel like, oh, I know how to pour beer. You tilt the glass, right? That's what you do. You tilt the glass like this, right? And then you pour the beer in, and isn't that going to be a great beer? And that way I don't get too much head on that beer, right? Well, I'll tell you something. You see what you got? You've got like very little head. You've got carbonation, bubbles bubbling up from the bottom of the glass, and all that carbonation that didn't get released in the head gets released in you. And that's why sometimes you feel like the way you do after a few beers the next day, because all that gas, CO2, is in your system. So you don't tilt the glass. That's not the proper way to pour a beer. And actually it looks like ginger ale, and it tastes very much of a sharp, stinging, biting taste, because all that carbonation's in there. You want a nice, smooth tasting beer. Now, here's the way to pour beer, all right? I'm going to show you. Doesn't matter what kind of beer you use. And I'm opening up a can of beer right down the center of the glass. Pour that beer down the center of the glass with a whack. That's what they say. I know, that looks like you got, a head from here to Chicago. But that head will settle, and once it does, that beer will have a much smoother taste. Really. It won't have that sting and bite, because you've released all that carbonation in that head, and that foam will go down and meet you about halfway in the glass, and it'll have a much smoother taste. And it will do less damage on your gastric system with less CO2 in your system. And there's an old saying about beer. It's better to have a head on your beer than beer on your head the next morning. Think about it. Okay. Greg McShay with BS Beer School with Greg on the Go. Cheers.